But back to Eric, because you had a wonderful conversation. In that conversation, he played the big brother role, and he was very
Sure
happy
did.
about it. He was self-congratulatory about it. I mean, can you talk to the ways in which Eric made you a better man throughout your life?
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, for one thing, Eric and I are interestingly similar in some ways and radically different in some other ways. And it's often a matter of fascination to people who know us both, because almost always people meet one of us first and they sort of get used to that thing, and then they meet the other, and it throws the model into chaos. But, I had a great advantage, which is I came second. Right. So although it was kind of a pain in the ass to be born into a world that had Eric in it because he's a force of nature, right, it was also terrifically useful because he was a very awesome older brother who, made interesting mistakes, learned from them, and conveyed the wisdom of what he had discovered. And that was, I don't know who else ends up so lucky as to have that kind of person blazing the trail. It also probably, my hypothesis for what birth order effects are is that they're actually adaptive, right? That the reason that a second born is different than a firstborn is that they're not born into a world with the same niches in it, right? And so the thing about Eric is he's been completely dominant in the realm of fundamental thinking, right? Like what he's fascinated by is the fundamental of fundamentals. And he's excellent at it, which meant that I was born into a world where somebody was becoming excellent in that. And for me to be anywhere near the fundamental of fundamentals was going to be pointless, right? I was going to be playing second fiddle forever. And I think that actually drove me to the other end of the continuum between fundamental and emergent. And so I became fascinated with biology and have been since I was 3 years old, right? I think Eric drove that, and I have to thank him for it because,
I never thought of you. So Eric drives towards the fundamental, and you drive towards the emergent, the physics and the biology.
Right. Opposite ends of the continuum. And as Eric would be quick to point out if he was sitting here, I treat the emergent layer, I seek the fundamentals in it, which is sort of an echo of Eric's style of thinking, but applied to the very far complexity.
So he's overpoweringly argues for the importance of physics, the fundamental of the fundamental. He's not here to defend himself. Is there an argument to be made against that? Or biology, the emergent, the study of the thing that emerged when the fundamental acts at the universal, at the cosmic scale, and then builds the beautiful thing that is us, is much more important. Like psychology, biology, the systems that we're actually interacting with in this human world are much more important to understand than low-level theories of quantum mechanics and general relativity.
Yeah, I can't say that one is more important. I think there's probably a different time scale. I think understanding the emergent layer is more often useful, but the bang for the buck at the far fundamental layer may be much greater. So, for example, the fourth frontier, I'm pretty sure it's going to have to be fusion powered. I don't think anything else will do it. But once you had fusion power, assuming we didn't just dump fusion power on the market the way we would be likely to if it was invented usefully tomorrow. But if we had fusion power and we had a little bit more wisdom than we have, you could do an awful lot. And that's not going to come from people like me who, look at the dynamics.
Can I argue against that?
Please.
I think the way to unlock fusion power is through artificial intelligence. I think most of the breakthrough ideas in the futures of science will be developed by AI systems. And I think in order to build intelligent AI systems, you have to be a scholar of the fundamental of the emergent, of biology, of the neuroscience, of the way the brain works, of intelligence, of consciousness. And those things, at least directly, don't have anything to do with physics.
Well, you're making me a little bit sad because my addiction to the aha moment thing is incompatible with outsourcing that job.
like to outsource.
I don't want to outsource that thing to the AI.
Moment.
And actually, I've seen this happen before because some of the people who trained Heather and me were phylogenetic systematists, Arnold Kluge in particular. And the problem with systematics is that to do it right when your technology is primitive, you have to be deeply embedded in the philosophical and the logical, right? Your method has to be based in the highest level of rigor. Once you can sequence genes can spit so much data at you that you can overwhelm high quality work with just lots and lots and lots of automated work. And so in some sense, there's like a generation of phylogenetic systematists who are the last of the greats because what's replacing them is sequencers. So anyway, maybe you're right about the AI, and I guess
it makes you sad.
I like figuring stuff out.
Is there something that you disagree with Eric on that you've been trying to convince him, and you failed so far, but you will eventually succeed?
That is a very long list. Eric and I have tensions over certain things that recur all the time. And I'm trying to think what would be, the ideal.
Is it in the space of science, in the space of philosophy, politics, family, love, robots?
Well, all right. I'm just going to use your podcast to make a bit of cryptic war and just say there are many places in which I believe that I have butted heads with Eric over the course of decades, and I have seen him move in my direction substantially over time.
So you've been winning. He may win a battle here or there, but you've been winning the war.
I would not say that. It's quite possible he could say the same thing about me. And in fact, I know that it's true. There are places where he's absolutely convinced me. But in any case, I do believe it's at least, it may not be a totally even fight, but it's more even than some will imagine. But yeah, we have, there are things I say that drive him nuts, right? Like when something, like you heard me talk about the, what was it? It was the autopilot that seems to be putting a great many humans in needless medical jeopardy over the COVID-19 pandemic. And my feeling is we can say this almost for sure. Anytime you have the appearance of some captured gigantic entity that is censoring you on YouTube and, handing down dictates from the WHO and all of that, it is sure that there will be a certain amount of collusion, right? There's going to be some embarrassing emails in some places that are going to reveal some shocking connections. And then there's going to be an awful lot of emergence that didn't involve collusion, right? In which people were doing their little part of a job and something was emergent. And you never know what the admixture is. How much are we looking at actual collusion and how much are we looking at an emergent process? But you should always walk in with the sense that it's going to be a ratio. And the question is, what is the ratio in this case? I think this drives Eric nuts because he is very focused on the people. I think he's focused on the people who have a choice and make the wrong one. And anyway,
discussion of the ratio is a distraction to that.
I think he takes it almost as an offense because it grants cover to people who are harming others, and I think it offends him morally. And if I had to say, I would say it alters his judgment on the matter. But anyway, certainly useful just to leave open the two possibilities and say it's a ratio, but we don't know which one.
Brother to brother, do you love the guy?
Hell yeah. And, I'd love him if he was just my brother, but he's also awesome. So I love him, and I love him for who he is.